So welcome everyone. We are live once again. We are the College of Vedic Studies Birmingham, and this is the Bhakti Lens podcast, where we like looking at the world through the eyes of Bhakti, or love and devotion. I hope you're enjoying the sunshine wherever you are in the UK. It's most welcome. I just want to first of all congratulate our students who have moved on to studying the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Well done to all of you guys. Over the span of the last year, they've gone from Bhagavad Gita to Srimad Bhagavatam, and now they're on their third session of this Bhakti Yoga filled literature, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Anyone listening, if you want to have more information about our courses, please check out our website. We'll put something up on our website, and we've got the Facebook page, College of Vedic Studies Birmingham Facebook page. We've got an Instagram page. We've got a great set of teachers, a lovely cohort of students, which is amazingly reached over 500 now. We don't really know how, but we just keep going. So if anyone wants to listen to any of the previous podcasts we've had, then please check out the Facebook page. We've had Barsharam Prabhu, Kishori, Jani, Urmila Mataji, Sutapa Prabhu, and so many more Bhakti Yoga practitioners that have shared their wisdom and experiences. But for tonight, who do we have? We have someone amazing. We have a wonderful soul in Sheila Chauhan, whose passions lie in Bhakti, climate change, and ecology. She holds a degree in environmental sciences and a master's in environmental law and practice. She spent time in the Amazon rainforest learning how the indigenous tribes were impacted by climate change and saw the devastation firsthand, and also stayed in the Govindavan farm in Brazil amongst snakes while learning how to put simple living and high thinking into practice. She's worked on so many projects like Ahimsa, Karma to Climate Change, and one of our previous podcast guests, Nilamani, has called her our eco-spiritual warrior. So Sheila, welcome. I hope you're well. How are you doing?
Thank you, Haribol. That was quite an intro. And while you were speaking about all those things, I wondered, who is this person? Like, it doesn't even sound like me. It seems like someone like from yesteryears. And I think this whole pandemic is really, I think it's lasted for too long. You know, you kind of forgotten who you were beforehand. But thank you for the kind introduction. And thank you for Nilamani, actually, for nominating me and putting me forward. It's really nice for like-minded women to uplift other women as well. So yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. It was Nilamani that said, gave me your details properly and said, yeah, please have her on. She's amazing, and she gave me some background story, and I was amazed. I needed to get you on and have a conversation with you and let people hear about what you've been doing. So before we get into the nitty-gritty, is anything you want to say before we start? Like, anything off the cuff, what you're feeling?
Just relax. And I'm saying relax because I guess I need to relax as well. Just relax. And really, if there's anything that you hear today that's piqued your interest, or that you think, wow, I didn't know that, write it down, take a mental note, and please share it with other people. I don't know if there's a chat facility where they can feed back on anything, but please, you know, I think at the moment there's so much information around in the world that it's an overload, and we kind of forget what the key things are. And environmental kind of messages or something which is out there, but not so much as well. So I'm hoping today that I can impart something which is of interest and which is of use to you in your life. And like I said, if there's anything that resonates, please share it to others, because that's what this podcast is all about. I just want to be sharing information out there that's going to help others to be better eco-lovers.
Yes, brilliant. Yeah, no, that's great. So, I mean, at the start, I said that your passions lie in Bhakti and ecology. Would you say that's correct?
Yes, that's right.
So, which one came first?
Ecology.
I know there's no right or wrong. It's just isn't it?
Yeah. I
mean, tell me how you got into having a passion about ecology. Let's start with that.
Yeah, sure. So ecology or the environment, I mean that was my first love really. And I think it really came from a point. I will have to probably go back now actually, where my holidays with my family really, my family used to take us siblings to far flung places in the UK. So we would go to Wales, we'd go to Cornwall, we'd go to Isle of Wight. And it was actually there in those places where I was exposed to nature's magnificence, if you like. My dad is a bit of a rambler, so not like talking, but walking. And so we would go exploring hills and coastline and beaches. And I realized looking back at my memories that I don't actually always remember like your fairground rides or anything like that, your cups and saucers and your helter-skelters. But what I do remember is I remember how nature made me feel when I was there. So whether it was running in a field of buttercups, I just remember feeling just really wholesome and really connected to like a higher force really. And it just brought within me a real kind of profound connection and joy, so that's what I remember looking back. I just remember those fond memories of just being out in nature, going for walks up in like hills, etc. And I think that was really my first exposure to nature, if you like. But then growing up, I realized also I had a very protective nature as well. So I would protect my friends from any bullies in the playground. I'm an elder sister, so I would protect my younger siblings from any hardships. And that protective nature about me just kind of grew into actually questioning who's protecting the environment. Because I remember when I was young, I was watching this documentary and it was all about the hole in the ozone layer. And that was caused by the aerosols, the CFCs. I don't know if you remember that, or if anyone remembers that. Yeah, and the documentary was really scary actually, because up there was a hole and bad things were going to start happening. And it really got me thinking that who's protecting the actual environment? And it made me think that as a human race, we're actually manufacturing things, we're creating products and random things that is causing harm to the environment. So I guess my protective nature extended to caring, preserving, conserving, and also now serving Mother Earth, because she does not have a voice. But what I do realize that if you really listen carefully to her, you will see her health and her well-being through the germination of seeds in a timely manner, the playful nature of pollinators such as the birds and bees. And when these things are out of sync, then she's not well either. And this is a kind of like relationship I have with ecology. Yeah, it just really grew from holidaying, I guess, and just being out there.
So what did you notice that was out of sync? What did you kind of witness or sense that was out of sync, would you say?
Well, I less when I was young, because I think when I was younger, you don't really notice those things like that. But it was that documentary that really exposed what humans were doing, how much they were impacting on the environment around them. But I have very much so in recent years, I've noticed that there's not many birds and butterflies and pollinators like that. Even hedgehogs. I used to see a lot of hedgehogs, and I just don't really see many of hedgehogs. And that's really because, firstly, we all like these pristine looking lawns, don't we? And even local authorities like to just mow down, beautiful like grass and meadows, etc. And what's happening by doing that is you're actually decreasing the number of pollinators around cities and around towns, because there's nothing there for them to pollinate. And so I think now, actually, I think a lot more councils, local authorities this year, or even the last probably 3 years, they're actually now not cutting the long grass so much. They're reducing the cutting. It's because they understand now that wildlife will only come to these towns and cities if there is some attraction, And so we do need to see these buttercups and kind of meadow flowers, if you like. And I would also encourage those that are listening, don't be afraid to grow your lawn. It actually looks beautiful when you see all these different flowers up and coming. So yeah, please don't be like the Joneses. Don't be boring. Don't follow the Kardashians. Just let it grow for a little while, and you will almost notice beautiful wildlife coming into your garden. And I know last year when I was literally just sitting in my garden or behind closed doors, and I would see, I made friends with like the birds and the bees and the butterflies, and it was just beautiful, just absolutely gorgeous. So spend that time to take a step back, actually, and see nature for really what it's for what it really is, and let it flourish. Really let it flourish.
Yeah. So when we bought our house, we wanted to know what should we do with our garden, and we got someone in who was into permaculture. So he like designed the garden, so like there's a boggy area, then there's like this area, that area, and so we've maintained some of it, because it takes a skill to even maintain the garden, which is also something that I feel we should probably know naturally what to do. But we did notice then, like you say, all the bees and even like little frogs and newts can come to an area, but if you just like nuke it all,
yes,
then you don't have anything. I was just wondering, Comic-Con in the background, if you could get up the poster, which is like two Earths, one says eco, one says ego. Comic-Con and Maipur are backstage, and they're my the tech guys, because I really like that. I think you designed this really kind of eye-catching poster, which basically it's just two words, isn't it? It's eco versus ego. Do you want to expand on that a little bit? Like what was your thoughts behind that, eco versus ego?
Yeah, sure. Shall I wait for the
no, just you can start, and they should be
they've got to trawl through all those photographs. Yeah, you might see it at 9:55.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just visualize it for you.
Yeah,
so
sure.
There's two Earths, and one Earth, there is a around the Earth, circumambulating, if you like, there's animals, birds, there's invertebrates, there's sea creatures, there's humans, and they're just around the Earth like that. And above it says eco, and there's another Earth next to it, and you have just this person standing like this, the kind of power pose, and he's on top of the world. And above that person, it says ego. The reason why that was created, it's actually been created in the past, but not in this way, in so many different ways. I've heard eco, and ego. And I actually firstly introduced it in 2019 for Janmashtami, where I introduced the concept of green karma, blue planet at the Janmashtami eco tent. And one of the walls actually had that. So that was actually hand-drawn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was hand-drawn by the amazing Pranasaki. So I gave her the images that I wanted and the writing, and she wonderfully put it together. And that really just shows that when we work in harmony, when we're linking up with the ecosystems within our communities, then we all have the fair share of what nature can provide us. Yeah. Whereas when you work from a point of this is mine, it's only me, I need this, I need more of this, you are then operating from a platform of ego. And it's a quality that we all have within us, but it's something that we need to really just try to work on that and try to move on to the eco. So I really want to just speak a little, maybe I can speak a little bit more about what ecology actually means.
Yeah, do that. That'd be great.
I mean, if I explain actually what ecology actually means, because then it would give everybody an idea as to what I'm actually talking about. So let me give you a proper definition of it, because I do actually.
Please. I think Kamakant is rolling about in the flowers now. You've spoken about buttercups and butterflies.
He's gone in the garden and he's making a daisy chain, is he?
Straight away.
So ecology is the science of relationships, of how living and non-living organisms interact with one another within the physical environment. So I'm a true believer of that. We are within this ecosystem. Yeah. We are not outside of it. We are within and part of this ecosystem. So let me give you a few examples as to how that ecosystem actually works and what that actually means. I'll break this down for you.
Sure.
So the fresh air, the elements that we see out there, the fresh air, it's a life force that we can use to connect to the divine source. And we can do that through pranayama. And there's a very special connection and interdependence between us and the trees out there, because they provide us with the oxygen that we need to survive. And we breathe out carbon dioxide that they need to grow. So there's this beautiful symbiotic relationship between us and the trees. And there's a very strong bond, which for me, it really drives forth my respect and protection for the trees. The soil contains numerous nutrients that we can grow flowers to provide nectar to the butterflies and the bees so that they can pollinate. And by them pollinating the crops, what are they doing in return for us? They're actually providing us with food. So you can plant a rainbow of vegetables and fruits that grow into all different shapes and sizes of fruits and vegetables just from a little seed. The earth's soil can be used to build communities. So we can all congregate and glorify what nature has provided to us. And all of these natural elements, there's a web of interconnectedness. And we all need each other to survive and thrive. And this is ecology.
Nice. When you say harmony, here we go. Here we go, right on time. There you go. Yeah, so that's beautiful. We'll just keep that up there for a little bit. When you say harmony, it straight away musical things come to mind, like having harmony is like two different notes that complement each other. So it's like in harmony there are so many different, let's say, species or plants, moving, non-moving entities, let's say, but being in harmony is that they synergize, like there's like a win-win situation. From what you've just said, like defining ecology and everything, and then this poster as well where you got ego, where we basically it's like in a harmonium where you've got like one note that just doesn't stop playing, and you're trying to play the melody and that note is stuck. It's like that's the human ego, where like we always want to be part of, you know, center of attraction, and then none of the other notes can really play themselves harmoniously because this one note is just like meh, all the way through. So
That's really nicely put.
what do you think about that as an idea of like harmony? It just came like off the top of my head. Is
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely. That's a really key word in ecology, is that, like I said, we are not separate from the ecosystem, and we're acting right now like we are. And actually, we're part of it. We are part of this ecosystem. We need them and they need us. Actually, we need the bees more than the bees need us, you know? And
How is
actually,
that? Tell me how that is.
well, because the bees are, I mean, we think that we need the bees because we need food, don't we? And
Right.
and the bees and the butterflies, they pollinate, you know, the
Right.
crops. Yeah. So if they don't exist, then we're going to be in trouble. You know, our most loved items on supermarket shelves will either be sky high in terms of how much it's going to cost, because it's decreasing in its abundance, and also it just might not be there anymore. So we need these bees more than they need us, really. But I know that the bee population is declining right now, because a lot of them, they're now getting bred, you know. So
well, this is the thing I was going to say, is like the kind of reflex thing to do is like to automate it, like get the butterflies and get the bees and make sure they do their part, you know, maybe in a factory somewhere or like that. But that's not natural necessarily. Is that the problem with it? Like we shouldn't just automate this idea of bees and butterflies and flowers and everything. We should let things manifest. Is that right, or am I wrong?
Absolutely, we should let it just manifest. And last year, and I'm sure a lot of us, we must have just been out in the garden for most of last year, or just looking out of our windows, and we could see that these bees and butterflies and these other kind of creatures would just be out in the garden. We never noticed them before. But why didn't we notice them before? Because we were able to slow down. We were forced, you know, we were sequestered in our rooms, in our homes for such a long period of time that we had to watch nature, actually watch nature grow and be present before our eyes. I remember my sister in Leicester, Gajal, she was noticing a lot of things in the garden. I mean, the only time she'd go in the garden was probably to put the clothes out and then run back in or whatever. But, you know, she noticed like there was this cat that would sit underneath the bush, you know, and it wasn't there doing anything. It wasn't there, you know, trying to find prey. It was just sitting there for shade. And so, yeah, we have to allow harmony. We have to be in harmony with the ecosystem. And also we have to allow for this manifestation to happen as well. It's all very natural. It all needs to happen. And we realized that last year that there were a lot of things that we were seeing, weren't we? We were seeing, you know, China's like smog finally clearing after God knows how many years. You know, Germany's carbon dioxide rates was literally just, you know, it was the carbon emissions were reducing so much they were going to hit their target, you know, for and you know, there was amazing things happening. The murky waters were clearer, and that was because humans weren't playing such a harsh part in their everyday. They were kind of stepping back from it, and nature was actually reclaiming itself for once, you know.
My fear is that we see all that because there were stories. I remember there were stories of people in India who couldn't see a mountain range and then they suddenly could see a mountain range from their village. And actually the eldest people of the village were saying, yeah, I could see that when I was a child. And actually that shows that the smog had kind of formed over the years and just remained, and then suddenly they could see this mountain range again. My fear is that, you know, things clear up, we start seeing the sky better and all of that, and then we just start going back to normal, and everything just goes back to the smog filled air. I think that's quite pessimistic of me. Is there that fear? Do you have that fear or not?
Oh my word, yes, I have this fear, and I don't want it to go back to how it was. I talk to a lot of my friends. I talk to a lot of my colleagues at work, and I even talk to, yeah, I guess my bosses as well. There's one thing I really dislike, and it's this thing about, for those that are working, trying to get into work at 9 o'clock. Everybody, why are we doing this? Why are we all trying to get into work at 9 o'clock? It doesn't make any sense. You know, trying to get into work at 9 o'clock, trains, nightmare. You know, you're literally just standing on a platform waiting for a train to come because it's just constantly full. Too many cars on the road at the same time, creating enormous congestion and a lot of pollution. Because at the same time, you know, schools, you know, there's a lot of mothers and fathers taking their children to school as well. And I know in a lot of parts of London, especially in areas where the schools, there's really high cases of asthma because of the pollution around that time. The nitrogen dioxide levels are really, really high.
Yeah.
And so I don't rush to work at 9 o'clock. Get to work at 9:30. I work a little bit later. I'll work through my lunch. So I don't want to be wasting my time, you know,
In traffic,
fuel or whatever, just in traffic. And it's just everybody gets to work just a little bit vexed, you know, because they're spending a lot of time just sitting in traffic. So we do need to change how we work. Yeah. And for whatever people think about Zoom, it's actually now made us think that actually we can operate in different ways. We can still be present in meetings without physically being present.
Yeah.
So I really want everybody here who's listening to change your way, to demand you into your workplace, your bosses or whoever they are, or talk to your colleagues, and actually don't let it go back to normal. You've proved to them that you can work from home, and you're probably working with much higher productivity levels and with a nice home work balance as well. So let's not rush back to how a life was, because then yes, the environment will also suffer, but also our kind of mental well-being as well. So
I forget.
Everywhere.
Sure. I forget who. I really wish I could remember the person. I think it was a socialist leader from, I think maybe in the 50s, who said that technology should work in such a way that we have a short working week. And actually, this pandemic has proven that actually we can still be efficient. Like you said, we don't have to just sit in traffic just to get there for this arbitrary idea of 9 o'clock. Like, why is it 9 o'clock? Like, what sets that really? And yeah, then if we all go at that same time and just congest the roads all at the same time, they're going to have traffic. So yeah, staggering that is good. I really want to make sure we talk about the rainforests. So
Okay.
can I jump to how on earth do you end up in a rainforest? Is that okay if we jump onto that? Yeah.
Sure.
So okay, let me just summarize from what I've heard. So you used to go on holidays, and you were essentially, because your dad was a rambler, not talking but walking, you'd be in nature. That's the type of holidays you'd go on, and you'd find great. You said, I think you used the word, you felt wholesome because you were with nature. So kind of fast forward to the time where you ended up at a rainforest. How did you get to be going to a rainforest?
I've always wanted to see the devastation in terms of humans' impact on the environment. I wanted to see it with my own eyes, and I've always been interested in indigenous communities. Wherever I go traveling, it's always off the it's always like off the beaten track. It's always countries I visit. I have to learn the language. It's very austere, and those sort of, I guess they're not holidays. Actually, I can't remember last time I went on a holiday. They're all
it sounds like you need a holiday after you've been on one of these trips. Yeah.
Yeah, no one can understand me. You know, it's just can't eat anything.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to see what it's like. Actually, to see, I've always been interested in cultures, in how people live simply. So I always go to really austere, simple places. And there was just an opportunity for me to go and visit the Amazon rainforest, actually, and I took the chance. Some of it was self-made, as in I created the opportunity myself, and it was partly funded by me. It was partly funded by a local Rotary club as well. So the deal was that they helped fund me to go there. I would learn Latin American Spanish, and I could then converse with the Amazonian tribal folk and really understand how climate change is actually affecting them. So yeah, I went, and whenever I think about it, it brings a lot of emotions. I'll tell you why. I remember to fly into to go to the Amazon. There's either a couple of ways. Actually, firstly, you have to take a really small plane. Take a small plane, and then you have to then on a small boat. You're on the Amazonian River. So I'm on this small plane. Don't know what to expect. I look down from the window of this plane, and I'm happy. I see this like lush canopy of just beautiful green, like forest. You know, just trees, canopy of trees, just completely lush, and I'm smiling. And then I literally blink, and I just see pure, just flatness, just no greenness. It's completely disappeared. And it's like that for miles. And some of it is really black. And I can see that's where the trees have been burnt down. They've been chopped down. And I wasn't really prepared to see this kind of devastation in this rate. I mean, it's been said that the size of a football pitch of rainforest gets chopped down every 6 seconds.
Oof.
The size of a football pitch. That's how much devastation is going on. And I wasn't prepared for the feelings that I was going to be experiencing. I remember just stepping out of this plane and feeling really overwhelmed with emotions. And I just started crying. I just started crying. I didn't know why I was crying. People were just looking at me, didn't know what to do. And I realized then that I was crying because, firstly, for the first time, I was seeing the devastation with my own eyes. I wasn't reading it from a book. I wasn't studying it. I wasn't seeing it from, a documentary. I was seeing it with my eyes. And I became really embarrassed by being Homo sapien. I was really embarrassed to be part of the human race, because I understand that the rainforest, they're the lungs of the earth. They're a carbon sink. So yes, we could be doing this craziness, out in the Western worlds, but these rainforests are the, I guess, the bowl which actually then absorbs all our carbon emissions. And also in the rainforest, there's untold number of medicines out there. You know, there were a lot of things where I was with one who was one of the tribal guides, and he took me out, you know, with a machete. I was like, give me the machete. I want to be that person. I want to be you.
Yeah.
And you know, we were, you know, out there, and you know, he was showing me these, right, this plant is for arthritis. This plant, if you cut this bark of a tree, I remember just seeing this white residue, and then you take that residue. Sorry, no, it was red residue from a bark of a tree, and then he'd put it on his hand, and you rub it, and he turns white, and it's antiseptic. It's antiseptic cream.
Yeah.
And so all of the ills of the world, all the medicines are in the rainforest, but we're chopping it down. What are we doing? And I felt extreme sadness, extreme embarrassment that I'm part of this human race that chooses to do this, you know, because the medicines that are in there could be saving our relatives. It could be saving us. It could be saving the human race for all sorts of future ills. And we are thinking in a very temporary manner. We don't think in a way which has longevity. We just think for, I guess, like cheap and quick thrills, if you like. You know, we need this, chop this down, right? Soya, yeah, cattle grazing, yeah. But we don't think in the future. We don't think about future generations at all. And actually, the word sustainability, it's something which I guess is a modern term. Sustainability, sustainable living is a modern term. But actually, it is in the Vedas. So in the Sri Ishopanishads, we taught in Mantra 1, it says that take only what you need, do not take anything more, for you know to whom it belongs. And if you are taking more than you require, frankly, who are we? We are thieves. We are thieves of the future generations. So sustainable living is right there in the Vedas, is right there. And there's so many other things in our literature, in our beautiful Eastern philosophy, which talks about sustainable living, which talks about simple living, high thinking. When I went to visit the Masai Mara tribal folk in Africa, in East Africa, there was so many like synergies between our culture and their culture. You know, they respect cows so much. When you remember the BSC thing, and you know, we culled so many cows. Actually, it was a Masai Mara folk that actually pleaded to our government and said, do not kill the cows. We'll take them from you. We'll make them better. Do not kill the cows.
Wow.
Because like us, they take so much from the cows. Like, you know, the cow pack, like I even not stayed in there, but I visited the homes of the Masai Maras and the Masai warriors. They, you know, they actually their huts are made from cow pack. Their fuel is they burn the cow pack. Yeah, exactly. And then it's only when, and the milk they take as well, you know, that's what nourishes them. And then when the cow naturally dies, then they take their leather. But they, you know, they say a prayer, you know, when these animals die. So there's a huge respect, and there's so many kind of synergies between these indigenous tribes and actually what we read about in the Vedas as well.
So, I mean, if I think about how many people I've met in my lifetime, I actually don't think I've met anyone who's been to the rainforest. So I think officially you're the first person, but you're right. It's like, it seems far removed and it's distant, and, you know, this embarrassment that you feel, you know, I sense it and I feel it as well. From that position over there, obviously you're able to go, and you're coming back now and giving testimony of these things. What would you say if you were to say to people, like, what's the first thing what are the things we should do. Like you mentioned, about being greedy, basically. Only take what you need. That's like one thing. Don't destroy natural, cycles. Maybe is like just simple things like grass and wildflowers and all of that. So how can we start? What's the first thing that we can really do? What would you say?
In order for us to protect anything, we need to understand its value. We need to begin a relationship with it. We can't protect anything from places where there is what's opposite of virtues. We need to develop more virtues.
So what's the opposite of virtues?
Yeah.
Like vice, something that's vicious.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So we need to, if we have any vices, we need to look at what our vices are, because we can't protect or love something or want to care for something if we have vices. If we have needs, if we have wants, if we work from a point of lust or greed. So we have to work on our vices. We need to understand what they are, and we need to develop our relationship and develop more virtues. So the simple thing really is firstly begin from a place of using your five senses to connect to nature. Walk in nature alone. Really strongly recommend that. Walk in nature alone, in a park, even if you're down a street, it doesn't really matter if there's a boulevard of trees, but just walk outside alone and walk in nature alone. Either it's in a park, in the countryside, really doesn't matter. And carry out this mindfulness exercise. It's really powerful. What you do is you name 5 things that you see, hear, smell, and touch. Taste might be a bit difficult, but name 5 of those things. And what that does, it begins to ground you, and it begins to make you more mindful of what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what you're smelling. And that's really a foundation way of actually beginning your relationship with nature. And also another thing is that there's so much value in nature. I love going into forests and woods, even in this country. I love countryside. And there's some real kind of science behind why that's actually really good for our well-being. The Japanese have really cracked this. They call this thing called forest bathing. I don't know if you've actually heard of it or not.
Not forest bathing. I've heard of like sound baths and sun baths, but now forest baths or forest bathing. Yeah, go for it, please share.
Yeah, so forest bathing is really just walking within nature, around trees, etc. What we know is that the trees actually emits a not a chemical, but it releases like oils, if you like, and it's called phytoncides. And what that does, that actually helps us to bring our cortisol levels down. If we're feeling stressed, if we're feeling unease, it actually the phytoncides actually, when we breathe it in, it helps our body to calm down. I've heard it's really good for depression as well. So when we are within nature, just breathing in the air, we are affected very positively by it as well. So I really do recommend that when you're out there to actually just start from a place where you're just appreciating nature in a really slow way.
So I had someone who told me before I went to university, they said that ferns are very good at absorbing negative chi or negative energy. Someone said this to me. This is going back to 1999. So I used to have a fern in my room, and whether it was psychosomatic or whether it was just placebo or something, I used to just go near the fern and just like touch the fern, and I used to just kind of assume that my negative vibes were, my stress from my exams and everything, were being absorbed by this fern. So yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And yeah, so okay, so going into nature,
Go
sight,
to nature,
smells,
sight
appreciating
smells.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
And
then
another thing is also is, and you probably know this from your lovely cousin Venetia. It's called earthing and grounding, and it's about being barefoot outside.
okay, so just for everyone who doesn't know, I've got a cousin who is Sheila's friend, and she walks around barefooted, and legend. She's an absolute legend. Yeah, and so we all, once all of us cousins decided to do it, we just walked barefooted around. I don't know if she still got it, but she had this Instagram page called Barefoot Yogini. But yeah, please tell us about walking barefooted, please.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so there's levels. So Venetia
Yeah.
really took it to an amazing place where she would walk barefooted, but she'd wear these kind of like shoes which will allow. But you can just do this in the garden. You know, you can just do this in the garden. Just kick off your shoes, your socks, and really feel the earth on the ground. So this is called earthing or grounding, and it was discovered that there's so many benefits of it. You get better sleep, there's reduced inflammation and pain, and it connects you to the conductive systems that transfer from the earth's electrons from the ground into the body. And it's amazing. I know if I'm feeling slightly unwell, I literally just take my shoes and socks off, and I put my feet on the ground. And you can also just put your palms of your hand on the ground, entire body can touch the earth, walk on the grass, lay in the sand, swim in the ocean. There's all numerous ways where you can naturally connect to the earth. Even planting, to have your hands in soil is extremely beautiful. Actually, you can really connect to the earth's natural electrons in that way. And like I said, studies have showed that by carrying out this type of activity, you can reduce blood pressure, lower cortisol levels, improve concentration and memory, etc. And it really boosts your immune system as well. So I really do recommend that. Walk amongst the trees and lay down on the ground, or just touch the ground. It's hugely healing for you. Yeah, so please give that a go. Please give that a go.
That's good. Yeah, that's really great. I mean, we haven't really touched on the bhakti aspect of your life, and you're gonna have to come onto the podcast again. We've gone to time, but if you don't mind going for another 5 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes, is that okay?
Yeah, no worries.
It kind of reminds me of like Krishna and the Sakhas, his like cowherd friends, just going into the forest and just being in the forest and being amongst the trees and the rivers and the lakes and everything. It's like these cities are very sterile, and they are very unnatural in that sense. And even just you describing going and doing that in the forest, it makes me feel like I want to go out and literally go and do it right now. But yeah, if we can maybe segue to your role at the Bhaktivedanta Manor, because I do actually recall one Janmashtami going there, and there was someone who was dressed up as a cow and was like in a pen, and they were like shaking this pen, and I'm thinking that might have been you, or one of your crew there. Is it okay if we kind of talk about your role with the hymns? Yeah, is that you?
No, that's not me. I think
you got someone else to do it.
That is Sameksha, actually. She's
Okay.
Yeah, she was part of the team.
Okay, fine, cool. So if we can maybe the last 5-10 minutes just talk about what you've done with the Bhaktivedanta Manor. I know there's the Ahimsa project. There's correct me if I'm wrong, it's called Karma to Climate Change. Is that right? And then there's a really nice slogan, which was Green Karma, Blue Planet. Is that right?
Yeah, Green Karma for a Blue Planet. Yeah,
Green Karma for a Blue Planet. So yeah, please tell me how you've now then assimilated into Bhakti and your role there. Please expand. Oh, that's a nice picture there.
Oh, oh, right. Okay. Yes. So, for me personally, I really feel that my studies, everything that I've done before I came into Christian consciousness, it all now makes sense. I was meant to do these studies and really go off, I guess, what my parents wanted me to do, because now I see it as an offering. I can now really connect what I'm doing with a higher picture, with a bigger picture, if you like, and I can give something back. And it really now makes me feel that my life is almost like complete now for me to be able to offer something back to the devotees, back to the community. And I'm really thankful for Bhaktivedanta Manor. There's so many people there that didn't know me at all back in 2007, but they took a chance on me. And they allowed me in that first year of me joining to actually run an eco tent. And Ajay Kumar was one of the main festival managers or coordinators. And yeah, he allowed me to do that under the guidance of Sitaram Prabhu, who is again one of the first persons I actually ever met at the manor. And he was really key in my development and a complete eco warrior. And so it was through people like that gave me a chance that I was able to contribute something. And really, I realized that the South Asian community back then, or even a little bit now as well, they don't understand about climate change or climate action and what that means. So I tried to think of a way. I was conceptualizing ideas of how I can make that more available to them. So I put the word karma in front of climate change, karma to climate change. It's our actions which creates reactions, which then causes the climate to change. So you put the word karma in there, and all of a sudden people think it's me, it's my responsibility. Instantly they take ownership of it. And so that's how I created Karma to Climate Change, to actually bring forth a concept that people are going to buy into, that people are going to understand. So that's how I brought Karma to Climate Change. And then over the years, it developed into Himsa, where Sitaram Prabhu wanted to create a more compassionate type of milk called Ahimsa slaughter-free milk. So back in 2008 or 9, where nothing like that existed, we campaigned and surveyed loads of people to find out, if we made this milk available, is there a market for it? How much would you pay for it? So, there were so many things that I was doing back then. It was just such a brilliant time to be around these pioneers like Sitaram Prabhu, and he's doing, as you know, amazing things in Rutland, where he's got his own farm. But I'd like to touch on something a little bit now, actually, because I know we're kind of losing time here.
Yeah, go for it.
I can't believe that the time's gone. I really want to speak about, I know we want to protect nature, but it's not enough actually just to protect it. We must know its source. So I know we affectionately call the earth Mother Earth, but what we forget, and this is where we are different from the environmentalist or activists, if you like, because what we must know is that there's Mother Nature, but what about the Father? Who's the Father? And in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, verse 4, it says that Krishna says, I am the seed-giving Father. So we have Mother Nature, but the Father is Sri Krishna. So when we know where the source is, where the natural environment comes from, where the energies come from, it comes from Sri Krishna, then we are more likely to protect it, and then we're more likely to develop this love for it. So a disciple of Sheila Chauhan asked him about the connection of Sri Krishna and nature. He said, well, how do you understand the two together? Is nature God? Like, how do you understand that? And Sheila Chauhan gave an example of his spectacles. He said, okay, so if I leave my spectacles on this chair and I walk away, what would you do? And the disciple said, "Oh, I'll remove the spectacles from the chair because I don't want anybody to sit on it." And he said, but why is that? And he said, because they belong to you. And he said, that's what nature is. That's what Mother Earth is. Mother Earth, nature, Mother Nature is an energy of Krishna. So just in the same way that that disciple, that devotee wanted to protect the spectacles because it belonged to Prabhupada, in the same way, we must protect Mother Nature and its elements because it belongs to the source, and we understand the source is Krishna. And for me, Krishna is the number one environmentalist anyway. You know, we could look at the Bhagavatam for spiritual solution for this environmental crisis that we're in. You know, we can learn from his lilas. Like in the Bhagavatam, he's restored the purity of the Yamuna River, which had been contaminated by the serpent Kalia, by his poison. Elsewhere, Lord Krishna reinstated the residents of Vrindavan who were worshipping the position, he reinstated the position of the residents of Vrindavan because they were worshipping Lord Indra, who presumed himself to be the supreme controller. And he asked the residents of Raj to worship and to offer their yagnas to the cows, to the brahmanas and the Golden Hill. And a personal realization that I had actually, that I like to share, is that, you know, we circumambulate and we worship Golden Hill, don't we? You know, pilgrims from all over the world, they go to Golden Hill and we offer our respects and obeisances. However, the earth has been touched magnanimously by the Supreme Lord, because if you remember, the Supreme Lord has invested his own potency on the earth because he came down as Lord Varaha. And he picked up the he picked up the earth with his little finger when it was brought down from his axis by the demon king. And Lord Varaha picked up Mother Earth with his little finger and reinstated back in his axis. So in the same way, should we not be offering our obeisances to the earth because it was also touched by Krishna as well?
Well, I'm going to just reflect back some things that are just going through my mind, just to acknowledge some of the things that you said. So earlier you said we cannot protect something that we don't value, and if we the first step is like realizing that we are part of nature and that we have a synergized relationship with nature. So that's one way of valuing nature. And obviously what nature can do for us from a medicinal point of view and healing point of view, and, you know, just from our own well-being and everything, that is one step. But what you've added, you've gone a bit more deeper and said, actually, Mother Nature is valuable, and also the Father is God, Krishna. And actually from a bhakti point of view, we protect nature because she belongs to the Lord, and we love the Lord, and we love to protect and preserve and value all the energies of the Lord. Is that kind of like the journey of what we've just talked about?
Yes.
I'm just kind of reflecting back everything you've told me.
Does anything from there kind of resonate? Is it interesting for you?
Yeah, without a doubt. Like it just makes me, you know, want to value it more. And, you know, well, hopefully anyone listening at least, you know, does that exercise of going into nature, understands that, yeah, one step is to value it from our point of view, but that in a sense, you know, we should protect it because it's good for us. That's still there's a little bit of ego there. But if we protect it because it is the Lord's energy, and
yes,
we should look after Mother Earth. That's quite profound. I'll have to reflect on it, to be honest. So yeah, Jeev Jago, someone called Bhupen has said, amazing innovative projects every year at Janmashtami. Yes, there really are. So we've reached 1 hour. Yes, Sitaram Prabhu is a legend. Yeah. So for anyone listening who's directly linked to Birmingham Bhakti Yoga community, we're starting with the blessings of Sitaram Prabhu and the devotees. We're starting a nano farm. I don't know if you know that, Sheila. We're actually in the process of doing that. It got announced last week, so please look out for that. And obviously, we're looking for sponsorship for that and everything. So we hopefully will get a nano farm up and running, and look at develop our own slaughter-free milk is what you're essentially saying with ahimsa, isn't it? So are there any final thoughts? I know there are so many things we haven't covered. We're gonna have to get you on again, because there was this amazing story that I wanted you to tell about a mountain, about you wanting to conquer a mountain, but actually the mountain conquered you. We will stay, you'll have to come back on and tell us about that epiphany moment of going into that. So are there any final kind of thoughts or comments before we log off and let everyone kind of probably go to sleep here in the UK?
I'm going to do a couple of plugs, actually, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah.
So one is at Bhakti Manor, we're now creating, thankfully, the sacred ecology courses. So one of them is we've got one on cow protection, which is being led by Sanj Gohil. So I think it started last week, but it's like a 5-week course, I believe. So jump on that. And also like-minded people like myself, Neela Marnie, there's a few other people, amazing personalities, Nimai from Leicester, there's also Geeta Parihar, and so many other people actually on there, that we've come together on a monthly basis, and we've created like an Eco Bhakti Sangha, if you like. So it's the final, I think it's the last week of every month, or the first week of every month. But anyway, if people are interested, they can contact you and you can contact me. But we are part of this Eco Bhakti Sangha. So if anybody listening would like to be part of it, please join us. And also, if you're on Instagram, Green Karma Blue Planet, I'm on Instagram there. If anybody would like to help out on that, because I do a day job as well, and sometimes I just want to be offline and not be online after work. Anybody would like to help build that as well. So that again, just please get in touch, and whatever you've heard, please share. That's the most important thing. Please share the knowledge, spread the awareness. Only then will we be able to grow a community which carries this wisdom, and we can make real change. We've got this link at the bottom here. Just keep it up, guys. So if anyone's on Instagram, if you look up, is this correct? Yeah, Green Karma Blue Planet. Blue Planet. So they can message through there, and they can contact through there to be part of this Eco Bhakti Sangha. Yeah. Please, anyone listening, please do that. I'm certainly going to spend some time in nature, the way you said, actually, because there is that sense of going, but being more mindful with it. So you've definitely given me some gems today. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much, guys. I'll log off, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with another guest. And thank you, Sheila, so much. Please, there's the date. Okay, we're on point now. They've come out of the nature mindfulness. Next podcast, 9 p.m. Monday, 21st of June. You'll get announcements. I'm sure I'll hound everyone. But thank you for spending like over an hour with us, Sheila, and your wisdom is greatly received. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.